Well, my first obvious question, David, is 16 years, 500,000 units. Did you envisage such a huge success?
No. I mean, you simply don't, and I'm even today surprised that we've been. It's been able to be on sale for so many years, and we've sold as many as we have. Yeah. So it is a great surprise. Yes, indeed it is, and it doesn't seem to diminish either. So
no, it doesn't.
I'm very.
It seems as popular now as it always was.
Yes, very chuffed. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. One interesting for me as an acoustic engineer, how does your role interacting with the acoustic engineers who finally voice the speaker?
Well, it varies, but in this case, with this loudspeaker, I was very directly involved. Listened quite a lot to the results they were coming up with,
sure,
and discussed with them ways of improving the mechanics of the thing, where I could improve the design and try and help them with some of the problems they had with the acoustic problems.
Sure.
Whereas if we take the Beolab 5, for example, here they had most of the say in respect of the lens technology, which I was not able to touch at all in principle.
Right. Okay.
So all the internal curvature of the lenses is as in principle the computers discern it should be, whereas the rest of it I had free hands. And an interesting point was with the bass at the bottom. Originally, it was their plan to put in a 12-inch.
Oh, okay.
And I said that, well, don't you think we should have something slightly larger? Wouldn't it give a better response? They didn't think so. But I went on, went on at them.
I'm glad to
and
hear
they said, well, all right, we'll give it a try. And they did, and they had to admit it was actually better. And then we talked, should it have been 18 or something? And they did try an 18 too, and that wasn't better, interestingly enough.
Does the 18 fit into the actual?
No, but this was at the development stage when, when they're pretty large and they're very open-minded. So, but it was interesting that that they discovered this, and it was fine because it suddenly gave the meter at the bottom, and at the top the mechanics and the computer designed framework was as it should be, and in some respects it made my job easier. On the other hand, I had to find something that looked good when it was finished, and that's how they ended up. You know?
I mean, was the Beolab 8000 more challenging in that respect, because it is a very small enclosure, just over 5 litres, I believe, isn't it?
I think, and you have to consider the time it was done. It was revolutionary in the respect that you could put so much power into it, you could make it really play and give an excellent acoustic picture. I mean, also from the jobs I was encountered, it seemed to me that the product designers would come and say, we want this, and we acoustic engineers would say, no, we can't do that, you'll have to change it. They go like this all the time.
Whereas it seems to me that Bang & Olufsen are more like, well, we can't do it at the moment, we'll make it happen.
They're very open. They're very open to new ideas and new thinking, and as I always say, they really do like a challenge. So, I was on then from the word go.
Good, I mean, it seems to me that although there is some impressive technology in many of their products, it's not just technology for technology's sake. No. It is actually there for a purpose.
Yes, there's an idea. We try to have a really good idea behind it. If you take the 9000, as you talked about before, the whole idea of the 9000 is that it's a reincarnation of the old LP with the cover.
Yes.
Which we all miss.
Yeah.
I suppose we're going to miss it even more now that everything's getting downloaded with nothing at all. But even so, it was, to try and recreate the picture of that art that really the software was a part of.
Yes. I mean, I suppose I'm a vinyl fan, and I think part of the lack of allure of CD is the lack of ceremony. With many players, you pop your disc into a tray and it disappears off into a magic box.
Thin plastic you don't have to really respect in any way, as opposed to the LP like this, looking at, scratchy. Yes. Which was a ceremony.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas, the CD, you can't pack it out either, can you? And you drop it, and it just doesn't seem to matter.
No, it's not. And the old LP sleeves, the gatefold ones, that were works of art in themselves.
Yes, exactly.
As we've said, the Beolab 8000 design was like nothing else before, and maybe there have been a few imitations since. But I mean, how did you come up with such an iconic design?
Well, I think the design director of the time was interested in having a new design proposal, and I think I had talked at some previous time about having to manufacture some kind of loudspeaker that would go well with a TV set.
Sure. Yeah.
Which was pretty radical thinking at that time, when it was, as you remember, picture tube technology.
I suppose that was around the time of sort of multi-channel was starting to ramp up.
Yes, coming in. The TV set was, at that point of time, wasn't widescreen, nothing like that. So, you know, they were pretty heavy objects, in fact. And try to imagine large, boxy loudspeakers, two on each side. It simply wasn't on. So obviously it had to be something that was slim, thin. I had thought of sort of organ pipes. I love organ pipes anyway. That's the form of them and things like that. So it was something like sort of a thin tube or whatever, which obviously is not too easy to make into a good sounding instrument. But I persevered with it, and really the most difficult part of it was getting it to go down to the floor and balancing it, where when I was in Copenhagen one day and saw a sale of old organ pipes outside a church, a sort of church bazaar really it was, and I looked at it, you know, and they're lovely to feel and look at, but suddenly I could see, you know, they had this form at the one end, and I could see that obviously it was a pencil.
Yes.
I was looking for, and I use them every day, you know, still. I just hadn't seen the connection, which is interesting really when you think about it. And then I was off, and the problem was just getting it to go down to the floor and how to get it to stand up, which sounds very simple really, especially now I've solved it, but it ended up by having a very heavy weight in the end, so it doesn't overbalance. And I then had, without really knowing it, solved the problem of the cable, which had to come out of the tube, of course, and it couldn't come out of the bottom because it was so small and thin.
So many beautifully designed products can almost be ruined by the finer details not being considered.
Yeah, and there, as you know, there's the power cable and there's the link cables, and then we designed a special cover for it.
Yes.
So it looks like quite a large, thick cable, which is in the period of, you know, where monster cables were all the rage and things like that. Yeah. So we thought it was rather amusing. Yeah. And it looked, you know, it sort of finished the design off.
It did, yeah. Yes, I would agree. Yeah.
And from then on, we made a smaller version of it. Again, where I did a lot of work at home in the evening when I came home, because it was quite difficult getting it to sort of to look right in a home environment.
Sure. Yeah.
So I used my own home for it, and with that. Lots of experiments with funny forms on the floor, and then the next thing, the 6000, I ended up putting it in a small sort of saucer, a dessert plate, and suddenly it looked quite right, and you know, that's how the idea evolved. And when it looked right there, I felt, well, this is the right sort of way to go. So we did.
I mean, do you find as a designer that, are you always thinking? I mean, do you you don't switch off?
It's not 9 to 5.
No,
it's all the time, because you always have a problem you're trying to sort of get through and solve in the sense that you need what is the essence and why that and why not that, and it's not looking right and it doesn't feel right, and why doesn't it? You know, you're always asking yourself a whole lot of questions that you have to answer in some form or another. Sure. And you gradually build up an understanding of what the problem is, and then you can start trying to solve it properly. Under this period of time, you've been doing a lot of designs, and they just don't look right, and they're not answering what really is the question. I think that's really...
I suppose you can have sort of one design that doesn't do for one purpose, and then later on you'll find another application for it.
And then quite often I've noticed, anyway, in my own experiences, many of the things that don't seem to materialise, you come back to them at a later stage. when you're doing another project, maybe. You see, that's what I was thinking of that time. I just hadn't, got the thought to in.
Certainly, yeah.
And then you take that up again, and suddenly you can work further with that.
Yeah.
This happens quite often. Actually.
Almost by accident,
almost
solution
exactly,
to a previous problem.
Yes, because they are sort of ordinary problems, everyday problems.
Yes.
So it doesn't make them that different, really.
No, true.
Why things are so big, why they're so big, and couldn't I make it more simple? And
that's another thing I was going to say. Do you find that the increasing miniaturisation of, everything makes a bigger challenge for you?
It's not. It doesn't make it easier. No, I must admit that. I mean, small mobile phones and mobile computers and things like that are quite difficult. But I mean, then doing a watch is difficult too.
True, yeah.
So, not that I have any experience in doing that, but yes, it is changing the picture a lot. Another thing is that, for example, all flat screens are getting flatter, and flatter. What do you do when there is just a wallpaper?
Yes.
Then I'll be out of business as a designer. But no, I have to find something else to make it more complex again, maybe.
People will always need products designed.
Won't they?
I'm sure you'll have a job for
I hope so. Yes, you just never know.